Quick announcement, anyone looking to make public comment, the forms in the back of the room, you can turn them into the clerk. Test. How many do we have?
10 and Gary Killian.
So, all right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are at a Common Council of the City of Wausau, January 28th, 2025. It is now 6:36 p.m. City Hall, Chamber Councils, Council Chambers. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Clerk, call the roll, please. Thank you. We have one proclamation tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to our Transit Commission President, Becky McElhaney.
I am going to read a proclamation regarding Transit Equity Day, which is celebrated on February 4th. Whereas Transit Equity Day is a national day of action to commemorate the February 1st birthday of Rosa Parks, an iconic figure in the movement of social justice and racial equality, who played a major role in the inception of the civil rights movement. And whereas Transit Equity Day highlights Rosa Parks' 1955 pivotal work and her brave and determined advocacy for safe and reliable public transportation for all people and communities, both then and today. And whereas Transit Equity Day of Action is recognized to elevate the message that public transit is a strategy to combat climate change and that public transit promotes affordable, accessible, clean, and safe transportation alternatives for all community members. And whereas the City of Wausau values equity and sustainability and desires to provide equal access to safe, efficient, and accessible public transit that is sustainable and environmentally friendly, now therefore be it resolved that by the City of Wausau Transit Committee, we do hereby proclaim February 4th, 2025 will be observed as Transit Equity Day.
Thank you, Alder McElhaney. And I do have one more just to recap. I read kind of on the fly last meeting we declared it the 6-day rule, so I'm just going to reread. And I was really proud of the way the clerk has advanced the 6-day rule, and we've really come a long way. The last several meetings we are meeting or exceeding our stated goal and our stated rule of council to have packets and have the agenda out 6 days in advance to give citizens proper notice, give alders proper notice to ask questions in advance to study up, ask questions in advance from staff so that they can come and be prepared. So I just read the therefore be it resolved, 6-day rule in the City of Wausau, and to show appreciation to the clerk's efforts and bolster city core values of integrity, professionalism, respect, and accountability by promoting precision of thought and economy of expression at Common Council and committee meetings to more efficiently serve the residents of the City of Wausau in 2025. So that will be put in. I just made it up last meeting and we formalized it for the packet. Thank you. I did put one item on here just to talk a little bit about that. We talk, it's behind here, those core values. And in those are derived from our strategic plan that was launched about 5 years ago by Mayor Rosenberg. The effort was promised 5 years ago, and it's been in existence now since 22. And those core values come out of that. And one of the things that you'll find if you search on culture, there's several references to culture and developing a community that is welcoming for all. And it's a rich community, respecting all cultures. What's absent here, unfortunately, is the culture that we have here at City Hall. And I'm going to just very briefly describe it as a Game of Thrones culture. I've been in leadership for 45 years. Never in my life, in 45 years from being a senior patrol leader in a Boy Scout troop, lieutenant leading a platoon, commanding a company all over the world, leading business, ever have experienced the culture we have in this building, mostly in this room. I apologize for the bluntness, but my charge is I was elected to make some changes. You may not like my methods, but everything I do is for the city of Wausau. Everything I do is in the light of day, public facing, and I give my best effort to do what's best for Wausau. So I'm just going to reread this oath of office that I took on this 16th of April. I, Doug Binney, who have been elected to the office of mayor and in the city, or for the city of Wausau in Marathon County, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of this office to the best of my ability, so help me God. That's what I was elected to do. If I thought I would help this culture by resigning tomorrow, I'd be gone. But that will not fix this culture. And I am here.
Point of order.
Thank you. So we're gonna that's all I have to say for that part here. But we're going to get into the public comment, and I'm going to ask that we refrain from a whole lot of hoopla and clapping. We have 10 tonight? Seven. Okay.
Excuse me, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you read the rules of decorum again that you've read before at meetings and that we all agreed on that there would be? Could you read those, please?
Sure.
Do you
and
have
I will-
those?
Excuse me?
Do you have those available?
Well, let's go through them.
Yeah, the rules of decorum for meetings for everyone.
Sure. So citizens have the right to address the council under either, both the following council rules. Rule 5, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Rule 5, subparagraph 5, provide the following conditions are met. The citizen registers with the clerk. The meeting is called to order, and we do have 7 up here. Citizens' comments relate to a matter on the agenda for this meeting. Time limit tonight is 3 minutes. Other restrictions is if the presiding officer decides the comments are not relative or are abusive, the presiding officer may order the citizen to modify his or her comments, order the citizen to refrain from speaking, order the citizen to leave chamber councils or council chambers, or take other steps that may be necessary to ensure the efficient conduct of the council's business. So I'll remind you as you come up that we want to stick to topic. The other thing we want you to do is speak to me, the chair. Don't direct derogatory, and you really shouldn't be directing comments at all to the members or our staff. It should be strictly about what's on the agenda and your point of view on that agenda. Address it to me. Did I miss anything?
Is there anything about clapping? Or was that?
Well, I will say this about clapping. We've had it in years past, and we see when we have proclamations, at times we get clapping. It's a spontaneous thing, but I will ask, let's keep Alder District 1 comments in mind, and let's refrain from excessive noise.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, also, can you just make sure people do name and address too?
Absolutely.
For the record, thank you.
Sure. Okay, up first,
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Neal.
thank you. I just want to, I mentioned this earlier to you. I just want to make sure that I'm sure a lot of the folks here tonight are here to speak on one particular item, that relating to the public complaint. So I wish that you would make it clear to our visitors tonight what the meat of that matter is and what it isn't, so that comments can stay germane to what we're talking about and doing tonight.
Well, I will read what the agenda item is if they've listed it, and ask them to stay on that. We do have also a tradition here that we do not gavel people down if there's minor deviations. So let's be realistic here, and we'll see how this goes. All right, up first is Lewis Smith. And Lewis, state your name and address, please.
Lewis Smith, 3929 Henry Street, Wausau.
Thank you, and you have 3 minutes.
Regarding the Ethics Board complaint against Mayor Denny, 2 questions the public would like answered. First, Municipal Code MC 2.03.040 states, the board or city attorney may request the common council to authorize special counsel for the board. The key word here is may. Who is prematurely asking to waste our taxpayer money on outside counsel when there exists 2 lawyers on the Ethics Board currently? 2, why are we entertaining this complaint now when DOJ is investigating a similar complaint as we speak? Municipal Code MC 2.03.060 states, if the board determines that the verified complaint alleges facts sufficient to constitute a violation of this chapter, it may, 1, make an investigation with respect to the alleged violation, 2, may proceed directly to order a hearing before the board, or 3, may refer to the district attorney's office recommending further investigation and probable prosecution. Haven't you already escalated this nothing burger to number 3? No further taxpayer money should be spent at this time. This complaint should be immediately dismissed or at least postponed until the DOJ investigation concludes. Now, why are we all here? Why is this council, some department directors, and even the city clerk continuously playing out Wausau's version of Mean Girls against Mayor Denny behind closed doors? It's most troubling the amount of uncivil, unethical, collusive, potentially quorum violating, backstabbing that goes on amongst many of you who are here. You people up there must know that we have ears. No doubt. Some of you will speak most dispassionately and eloquently here tonight, feigning decorum and deferring to procedure as you try to publicly shame Mayor Denny once again tonight. It's a pattern. It's a pattern we citizens are way too familiar with lately. Cloak and dagger, all month long. Fake piety on council night. Shame on you. We know what's going on. And hang in there, Doug Denny. We have your back.
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder, please don't point to specific staff. Please be mindful of that. Thank you. Thank you. Up next is Ashley Hockers. Ashley in the house. This was a mailed in or an emailed in. We'll hold on to that. Up next is Joanne Leonard. And this is also on the resolution approving hiring a special counsel 250112. 3 minutes.
Sorry, I'm a familiar face here. Good evening. I'm Joanne Leonard, 923 Maple Hill Road, Wausau. My comments are regarding City Council Finance Agenda Item 23-0112, resolution approving hiring of special counsel and authorizing the city attorney to hire and manage outside legal counsel engaged to advise the Ethics Board on the matter of a complaint of Coldwell, Phelan, Hazy, Bryan, and 4 others against Mayor Doug Denny. The city decided to pay for an attorney for the Ethics Committee. I'm not sure I understand the reason the city attorney couldn't be counsel for the Ethics Committee, since I saw it in her duties. Counsel to the Ethics Committee as one of her responsibilities. I read the excuse from the city attorney why she can't be involved, but doesn't make sense to me that taxpayers should now be paying 3 attorneys for this frivolous lawsuit. The taxpayers of this city, and that includes me, are tired of the unending expenditures of taxpayer money on issues that should be handled internally. On top of that, we have the state DOJ involved, and they are trying to pin a criminal suit on the mayor, all for moving an unsecured ballot box. Who pushed that forward? Who is behind this ongoing harassment of a duly elected mayor by Wausau City taxpayers? The ballot was not secure, so the mayor moved it. Why is the council allowing the clerk to turn an innocent issue into a 3-ring circus? Because instead of working it out with the mayor, there are certain individuals who have their eyes on taking out the mayor, including the president of the city council, the city attorney, the finance director, the clerk, and probably others. And what does the council do? Set up an ethics committee, meeting with hand-picked people to file the complaint. It is disgusting what is going on. It's time for the taxpayers to pay attention and say enough is enough. The individuals who filed this complaint could be responsible for the cost of the litigation if the Ethics Committee complaint is found to be frivolous. Instead of working it out with the mayor, the city attorney, finance director, president of the city county clerk, and the council choose to make a mockery of the whole system. As I attend more of these meetings and hear some of the ludicrous discussion and decisions this council is making, it is time for a complete change in City Hall and on the council. Thank you for your time.
Okay, another reminder, let's refrain from directly bringing staff into possible scenarios. Up next is Jack Hugendijk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jack Hogendijk, 4508 Hilltop Road, Wausau, 55403. I speak as a concerned citizen, taxpayer, and voter. It has come to my attention that there is a resolution by the Common Council to approve the hiring of a special counsel engaged to advise the Ethics Board in the matter of a complaint against Mayor Doug Denny. I have several questions, Mr. Mayor, for the council. Has the Ethics Board officially met and investigated the validity of the complaints made against the mayor? Has the public been made aware of the specifics of the allegations? Why is the council considering this resolution, which will cost an unknown sum of taxpayer money, to perform an investigation which is already underway by the Department of Justice? Who on the council asked for this? Why would you ask the Ethics Board to hire counsel when the city has 2 attorneys? I think everyone knows this is all about the mayor's decision to secure an unsecured ballot drop box, which was likely being used inappropriately, as that same box was also being used for bill payments. At worst, this may have been an error in judgment on the part of the mayor, but it certainly does not rise to the level of a violation of the city's code of ethics. I read in the attorney's letter that they cannot accurately forecast the amount of time this investigation will take, and therefore they're charging $250 an hour, including drive time from Waukesha, to court appearances and to meetings. This is an open-ended contract that will likely run into many thousands of dollars, taxpayer dollars, for an investigation that will most certainly reveal that no violations took place. But regardless, as I have stated, this matter is already under investigation by the DOJ. At best, this resolution would be redundant. and it will most certainly be an enormous waste of scarce taxpayer dollars. This is a waste of time and money, and it looks like an effort, it looks a lot like an effort to take down a good mayor. Please vote no on this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Up next is Ann Leskis. And again, let's, just a reminder, if we're going to string together some theories, let's try to not do that. Stick to the topic of hiring an outside attorney. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ann Leskes, 1010 Everest Boulevard, Wausau, 54403. As a taxpayer, it concerns me greatly that taxpayer funds would be allocated to needlessly promote lawfare against our mayor. It's a gross abuse of funds. We are in fact in debt. I'm a new resident of just over a year, and the hole that we've managed to dig ourselves into financially is frankly shocking to me, and so is the tax burden on the citizens. If the handful of citizens who filed the ethics complaint, the separate ethics complaint against the mayor, can't wait on the state DOJ investigation that they started, then they can hire their own attorney with their own funds. The state AG is still in the process of an ongoing investigation, and this would be a frivolous and gross misuse of taxpayer funds. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Chris Weems.
Uh, 1320 Grand Avenue, apartment 317, Chris Weems. I'm here to speak on the mayor and my behalf of the mayor. He has my full support. I met with the mayor like 3 weeks ago in this chamber. We talked about some good issues, and I brought up some good points. I just wish people would drop the ballot box. We got Preston Neeson's community like transit and unhoused, but all they worry about is ballot box. Just saying.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Weems. Next is Stephen Schmidt. Just a warning, the clerk has told me how to shut off the mic if I need to use it.
All right.
Thank you.
Stephen Schmidt, 1205 Parcher Street, Wausau, Wisconsin. I am in total agreement with the letter written on behalf of Mayor Doug Denny as represented by Hurley Burrish attorneys. A letter that was sent to and received by the City of Wausau Common Council dated January 27, 2025. I too believe that there is no basis for anyone to argue that our mayor acted illegally or unethically. I believe that no state or federal laws were violated by our mayor, and I believe it is time for the Common Council to unanimously vote to dismiss this ethics complaint and return to the important business of running the City of Wausau, providing the core services we depend on, making Wausau a safe and affordable place to live, work, and raise our families. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and to Mr. Neal's point, when we get to this, the issue is not the. Unfortunately, it's not going to be on the attorney's opinion. It's going to have to rest on the matter of hiring the outside counsel. So we had one left here, and I don't know if she showed up. Let's see, Ashley Hoggers. Last chance. No Ashley. Okay. That closes the pre-registered comments. We have the consent agenda up next, and we had one item. We have one item pulled, and that was 24-1108, Public Health and Safety and Finance resolutions on the sale of the Wausau Fire Department Ladder 2. Is there anything else pulled? 241108. Is that the correct one, Mr. Neal?
241108.
That's it? Okay, we've got it. So I'm looking for a motion. I've got a motion from Larson, second from Watson on the consent agenda.
Okay, you may begin voting. Motion passes 10-0.
So up next, we'll take that pulled item from consent, and that is 24-1108, Public Health and Safety and Finance Resolution approving sale of Wausau Fire Department Ladder 2. It was approved 4-0 in Public Health and Safety, 5-0 in Finance. I have a motion from Watson, second from Larson. Mr. Neal.
Thank you. I did request that this was pulled from the consent agenda. Not that I'm against the issue, but I just think that I could use some clarification, and maybe other people who have questions about it also would appreciate that. I wonder if Chief Kopp is available to come up. Oh, Chief?
Absolutely.
I'm just going to say, I did read the proceedings like about 3 times, and still it was kind of like scratching my head about, the why that we are looking to divest ourselves of this piece of equipment. Subsequently, I have talked to some people and had a few comments with you too. The ladder number 2 is completely in our ownership, correct? We don't owe any money on it?
I believe that to be correct.
Okay, I get a nod on that, good. And the sales therefrom would be considerable and would be used towards the purchase of a replacement.
Correct.
And it could take some time to have that happen, though, from what, months to a year, or?
Well, there's no guarantee, but with the feedback that we're talking with the broker and some of our sales reps, there is some high interest. I'd venture to guess it's going to go pretty quickly once we list it for sale with the broker, but there's no guarantee on anything, so it could take some time or it could go really quick.
So I guess the last thing I'd ask is sort of a ballpark question, because I know you can't really nail it down completely. But, I'm sure, the broker that we're talking about has an idea, what the market will bear on this piece of equipment, and probably have some general idea of what its replacement might cost. So there's going to be a gap there. Any idea on the extent of that gap?
So my plan is to not have to come back and ask for any more money, and we've been working really hard with a couple different companies to get to this point. We were advised to list it for $1.2 million. We paid $998,000 for it and some change. And we're in a unique situation where we're able to sell something for more than we paid for it 3 years ago, as well as find a replacement for that in that ballpark of the same amount of money. And I feel really good about saying that we shouldn't need any more money. But like I said, I don't want to guarantee anything, but we've been working really hard with a couple different manufacturers, and I think we're in a good place to move forward and put this situation behind us, improve morale, and
Okay.
improve.
I guess the last question that I would have is the piece of apparatus on the truck in question. Is that something that would be of a different make and model and manufacturer than what we currently have on number 2?
So it would be a ladder truck, a 75-foot ladder truck.
Right. So the ladder itself is the apparatus in question, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, are those, basically off-the-shelf cookie cutter, or are they specifically designed, by the manufacturer for a given truck? So we're not really getting another truck that has the same kind of apparatus on it?
It will be completely different brand,
Okay.
different name. The only thing that'll be similar is it'll be a 75-foot ladder to replace the 75-foot that we have on that side of the river right now to meet the needs that we need for our community, yeah.
Super. Okay, thanks. That's all I needed to know.
Thank you. Anyone else on that? Seeing none?
You may begin voting. Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, appointments, none formal, but I would like to announce that we have appointed City Assessor Rick Rubo as the interim HR director. Up next is file number 24-1109A. It's an INF and finance resolution adopting a 2025 budget mod for the repair and reopening of 28th Avenue from Madonna Drive to West Wausau Avenue from June 2025 through April 2026. That was a 2 to 3 fail at INF. That's infrastructure and facilities, and 0 to 5 fail at finance. I have a motion from Henke, second from Watson, and Alder Henke's up first.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to thank Alder Watson for seconding this for me. These are my residents that passed around some petitions, and I felt it needed to go through the process, and so we took it to infrastructure and then to finance, and now it's before us to. So this is 28th Avenue. You might know it as Steepy over by the hospital. A rainstorm this spring washed out that street. It's planned to get fully replaced in 2026. So at that time, it was closed. We had planned on just leaving it closed until that final project comes around in 2026. In the meantime, a petition was passed around, and it was asked to reopen that street. So we got a cost together to temporarily reopen that street for 2025, the summer, or hopefully into the fall, and all the way to the next construction. I was pleasantly surprised at how low it came in at, and I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Neal.
Thank you. Yeah, I was surprised at the price tag, too, that was given to us. But I also believe I've heard in meeting, some acknowledgement that we don't really know what's under there until we go under there. The cause of a lot of the problems on that road have to be uncovered, and I think that the $65,000 could be stretched pretty thin, and we might not be able to achieve what we are trying to do. I'm thinking that 1 year's time we will be doing a full fix of that road, and rather than throw good money after bad, and we hear a lot about money's not never ending. I would not support this for the sake of 1 year's worth, and really less than a year, because during the winter time I think we would have it closed up again, just to its difficulties during the bad weather. So yeah, I just think let's give it another year. Use the detours that are in place. I know it's not something that everybody in the neighborhood loves, but after that, we're going to turn around and have that street completely redone and done well and done correctly. So, thank you.
Thank you. Alder Tierney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had listened to the infrastructure meeting, and when Eric Lindman was talking, this fix could last 2 weeks, it could last 2 months, or it could last a year. This is basically a Band-Aid, and if there was a big solid rainstorm again, it could be in the same situation that it's in now. And I have a really hard time supporting a $65,000 spend that could last a month. So I will not be supporting it. I too think we should just stick with the detour until we repair it properly. I do really feel for the citizens that are affected by this detour. I know if that were me, I certainly wouldn't be happy about all the additional traffic when I was previous to this in a relatively quiet neighborhood. But again, I just can't, to me, it would be like throwing out $65,000 since we have no guarantees that this is going to last. So I will not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martins.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Alder Neal hit the point right on the head. This is throwing good money to bad, and because there's no expectation that this kind of a fix will maintain the road to such an extent that it can keep could keep it open until it gets reconstructed in 2026. We talk about being fiscally responsible, and this is not a fiscally responsible move, although it does have good intentions, because I do understand the plight of the neighbors in the neighborhood having to deal with the traffic and the detour. But unfortunately, it's, we talk about saving money, and this would not be a money savings type of activity. So yes, I will also I did not support this resolution in infrastructure nor finance, and I'm not going to support it tonight.
Thank you. Further comments on 20th Avenue? Seeing none.
You may begin voting. Motion fails 1 to 9.
Up next, file number 231-1215. Oh. Oh. Okay, we are going to suspend the rules. We can suspend them for all of these items at once or one at a time. What is your pleasure?
My intention is to do them all in one fell swoop.
All right, so we're suspending the rules. We're voting to suspend the rules. 6B, filing and/or 12A, referral of resolutions, requires a 2/3 vote. Motion from Neal, second from Tierney.
Alder Larson, did you mean to amend? Okay. 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 You may begin voting then. Motion passes 10 to 0.
Okay, first item under the suspension of the rules is the finance resolution approving First Amendment to the Master Partnership Agreement between Community Infrastructure Partners LLC, known as CIP, City of Wausau, and Wausau Water Works. That passed 4-1 from Finance. I have a motion from Lukens, second from Rasmussen.
Just a point of order. Larson and I are having connectivity issues. Just if we're a little
Okay.
late, just FYI.
Okay. What did you think? You got ahead of one of these here? All right. Okay, motion and second. Comments? Okay, I do have, go ahead, Mr. Martin.
I'll just make just one quick comment about this. This is a couple of things about the amendment to the partnership agreement, but most of what is happening here is it is a verbiage, a change of verbiage that's been required from the DNR, the Department of Natural Resources, so that it aligns more with how they wish to deal with agreements with contractors. So the cost of the project does not change in what we were expecting and what is in this, and what is stated in this agreement. It's in this, and as for the funding element for the moving forward with the lead service line replacements, the funding for the private side of the lines is available from the DNR through the Safe Drinking Water Fund. So even though we've heard on the federal level that there could be a possibility of grants and loans being suspended, this is not the case for this particular item because the money has already been obligated and it's in the hands of the state at this point in time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I do have one comment. I apologize, Eric. It was a hectic day. I didn't get a chance to talk to you. You don't necessarily have to come up. I see Sean Agard is here yet. And my concern, and maybe it's a lesson looking backwards here, is how do we figure out, I went back to the December of 23 and the January of 24 council meetings where we had this repeated mention of EPA, CBP3, that was the meat of why this was a good thing. Why do you think, and you don't, I mean, this may be more rhetorical, but this was trumpeted from the federal government, from the EPA as this new revolutionary thing. They hand it off, we get a contract, the DNR in Wisconsin now rejects it, bucks it. Aren't those two talking? Why is it on the back of the city to solve this issue? And maybe you could shed some light on is that going to get better? Do we need to figure out how to communicate better with the EPA and get these guys in the same room? Help us understand that.
I think there's been a lot of discussion, right, over the past 12 months since the city was allocated these funds for the 24 season. The DNR had a set process, right? We have basically 3 regulatory agencies for the water, right? So one is the EPA, one is the Wisconsin DNR, and the other one's the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. So we're navigating 3 different regulatory agencies as we move through this. And so they all have different opinions. This plan allows the city, to maximize the amount of principal forgiveness loans while they're available, right? To do something that we're going to be required to do in the coming future, and to improve our distribution system, our water distribution system, to ensure healthy, safe water. So right now, there is a disconnect between the state and the US EPA. And the state has really kind of put this on the backs of us to address, rather than communicating with the EPA. And so to that point, working with our partners through CIP, the DNR, and city staff, we have bridged that gap and found the language that the DNR is comfortable with in their preference to keep moving this forward. So we can close on the loans for the 24 work that's already been done and take on that principal forgiveness, and then also for the 2025 construction project to move this forward as well. I don't know if that completely
Well,
answers
thanks.
your
I put you on the
question.
spot. I know.
Yeah,
I see Mr.
sorry.
Agard. You have something?
Yeah, I mean, the only
Sure.
thing I'll add to that is when this money became available, the EPA, they administered, it was $15 billion over 5 years, so $3 billion a year to all 50 states. And all 50 states have their own rules and regulations, so the EPA didn't provide much guidance other than 49% of it statewide is going to be principal forgiveness, 51% is going to be loans. It could be 0%, it could be 1%, it could be whatever the state wants. So if you look at the rules in Maryland or Pennsylvania, they're different than they are in Wisconsin, they're different in Rhode Island. So it's, when you ask why did we go down this route, we've done it this way in Maryland and in Pennsylvania without issue. According to Godfrey Kahn, the attorneys that drafted the contract, there's nothing prohibiting this in Wisconsin, but the DNR's preference is to do a time and materials contract versus a cost plus.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. I have a question from Gisselman. Mr. Gisselman.
Question, more of a statement, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I will again oppose my tradition has been opposing these agreements because of the large amount of debt that the city of Wausau is going to be incurring because of this. I'm not against the work that we have to do with regard to replacing lead, but I think that maybe takes a different tact, a different goal within the city of Wausau. But the large amount of debt that we're taking on in 2024 and 2025, I feel is really beyond the pale, and I'll be voting against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Last chance, anyone? Thanks, guys. Seeing none.
You may begin voting. Motion passes 8-2.
Thank you.
Up next, file number 250112. It's a council resolution approving the hiring of special counsel and authorizing the city attorney to hire and manage outside legal counsel engaged to advise the ethics board in the matter of the complaint of Jay Caldwell, Gerard Phelan, Kurt Hazy, and Scott Bryan against Mayor Doug Denny. I have a motion from Watson. And we don't have a second. Going once,
Oh,
going
no, you
twice.
haven't. You haven't.
Okay, so we have a motion from Watson, second from Rasmussen, and I did notice that the actual complaint was not in the packet. I assume everybody, I shouldn't assume anything. I don't know if everybody has the complaint. Is that an issue?
Point to the ethics board.
But the complaint was not in the packet. It is. City Attorney?
Yes, Mayor.
Should the complaint have been in the packet so we know so the body knows what?
I don't believe that's required.
Okay.
It's already
So-
been published in the pilot and review anyway. It's publicly available.
Okay, so the pilot and review has it if you would like to take a look at it. So we have a motion and a second, and I have Alder Rasmussen up first.
Thank you. I think it's important to recognize, because there's been a volume of miscommunication about what this is and what it isn't. Alder Neal did try to get to some of that in the beginning. First, to be clear, based on comments that I had read at least, or had heard at least in one media source this week, there was some assertion made that the city council is seeking to use public dollars to conduct an investigation of the mayor. The city council did not request the ethics complaint. The city council does not control or manage the ethics board. We are not involved in the ethics board's consideration or its decisions, nor should we be. And the ethics board is a board of citizens, not elected officials. And so when a citizen exercises their right to file a complaint under our municipal code, and that complaint comes in to the clerk's office, there's a process for handling those, and that complaint is required to be forwarded to this citizen board. It doesn't come here. We don't get to dismiss it, and we don't get to hear the argument. Now, as an appointed committee, commission, or board, that ethics board is entitled to legal guidance from our legal office. When our city attorney has a conflict in a matter where she cannot serve two roles, her duty is to come to us and ask us to appoint or approve an outside counsel to fill her stead. This same exact thing happened a couple years ago when we had the ethics board complaint against Alder Deb Ryan. Outside counsel was secured for that, and that outside counsel provided guidance to that committee throughout. Now, a committee of citizens has a job to do. They're entitled to legal guidance to make sure they do that job properly. At their very first meeting, the question is going to be asked, what are their options? They need advice, and the city attorney can't provide it. That's all this is. We are not involved in this. We should not be hearing people's assessment of what happened or what they think happened or anybody's response. It's not our business. All we are asked to do is decide if we are going to provide or approve an outside counsel to fill in for the city attorney because she has a conflict in this particular matter. Outside counsel was just secured to advise our HR committee when a citizen complaint came in from Keene Winters against two staff people. Those chair people of those bodies and those committees need legal guidance to make sure they do the work appropriately. And so I think there was a misunderstanding out in the community of what this item actually is and whose obligation rests where. We all received a communication this afternoon from the city attorney outlining her responsibilities and what her duties are. She's trying to do that job. And so this is not our city council ginning up yet another investigation. Citizens chose to file a complaint. We don't get to control when that happens, but when it happens, we have to follow a prescribed process. When it arrives, the clerk has 3 days to get with the ethics board chair and figure this out. They're doing that work. And so I want to be clear, because I've heard all kinds of wild assertions today out in the community that anybody that votes for this should be recalled. Well, this is a largely decorum. I have the floor. You've all had the floor already. So this is largely a ministerial task. We have been asked in the past to provide these services to our appointed committees, commissions, and boards. This ask seems no different. So if there is some kind of difference, I would defer to the city attorney to outline what that difference might be. But this does not seem any different than what happened when we received the complaint that occurred between a citizen and a former alder. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Neal.
Thank you. Well, a complaint has been duly filed with the Ethics Board by citizens. And that board will have to decide if they want to pursue it or not. That's the board's job. That's the responsibility appointed to them, not to us. The mayor's own personal counsel has preemptively issued a legal opinion document, which we've seen, that I expect the board will review itself. That is the mayor's own counsel offering an opinion. The board has the right to consult their own legal counsel, too, if they wish for a second opinion. The potential for internal conflict of interest in this case requires going outside for independent counsel. Just simply requires it. This is not something that we're just making up. This is not a frivolous waste of taxpayer dollars. It is a necessity to ensure a fair and balanced review of the complaint itself. The issue will not be decided in the court of public opinion. It will arrive at its conclusion through due process, as it should. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I wasn't going to respond here to these two, but I will say it should be noted that this was broken in the Wausau Pilot and Review on January 14th, going on a couple of weeks ago now. When initially called by reporters, I did not comment because I was unfamiliar with the complaint. So 2 weeks later, my attorney had a chance to review the matter and gave a response. As Alder Rasmussen has insisted on in the past, I gave copies of the material to the council members so they could comment too if they wanted tonight. Your assertion that the Ethics Board complaint process imposes some gag order on me without being able to defend myself, I don't agree with that. So I will defend myself in front of the council, in front of the board as this develops. So
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't understand. Whose assertion was that about a gag order? I don't recall.
Well, I think there was an email to me privately from Alder Rasmussen implying that it was inappropriate for me to release the information that came to me via the media, and I released my attorney's response back to the media. So, this has been in-house since the 14th. So the grass, we're going to move the cheese here tonight, but I want to make that point that, this is quite a curious happening that we don't see very often, is that ethics complaints normally get turned in, they get looked at, they were managed with some degree of respect and confidentiality, not put out in a media blitz, radio blitz. That's so I'll leave it there. We have Alder Tierney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am new to all of this. Have not dealt with this in the past, as you all know, and I've talked to a couple of alders as to what this means. I, too, wondered why this didn't wait until the DOJ decision came out, and was told that this is ethics and DOJ is criminal, and because the complaint was filed by citizens, that it had to be responded to within a certain number of days. And because I had the same question as many of you did with the DOJ, the one question that I guess I don't quite understand, and Ann, please help me out here, is because there is, you can't do this because of a conflict of interest. Can you just explain a little bit what that conflict is and why you're unable to do this?
Certainly, there's primarily two. One is because he's a member of my organizational client, so I'm not going to give advice to a tribunal against a member of my client necessarily. And because of the basis alleged in the complaint, I am a potential witness, and you can't both act as counsel to the board and as a potential witness.
Okay, thank you, because I know that there was some questions as to why you're not taking this on. And we only have one attorney, don't we, right now?
Yes, and I do have to follow the Supreme Court rules of professional conduct for attorneys. So many of you may be unfamiliar with those, but I take those very seriously.
Okay, so I wanted, because in several of the comments, they said that we have two attorneys, and unless we had just hired one, I thought my, that was one, so I just wanted that to be cleared up as well. So basically, I just, again, I too wish that it would have been waited until the DOJ made a decision. I wasn't aware of all the things that had to be done, so I just wanted to hopefully clarify some of that. Thank you.
Alder Watson.
Thank you. I guess I had two questions and then just a general comment. So my first question, I mean, technically on the website, on the office attorney, or the city attorney website, there is a second attorney. Maybe that's where people are getting it. The Dan McGrath. Could he sort of double as a, you know?
He is a contracted attorney for municipal court prosecution services only at this time. And that's at an hourly rate too, which exceeds what we pay an assistant city attorney, but he performs the job very efficiently in about 40 hours a month.
Okay.
About 1 week a month it takes him to do that. So
Cool.
that's a 1-year contract.
Okay, so he's not like a staff, he's just
Correct.
being
That would be
contracted
beyond
out.
the scope of his engagement.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And then, does anybody know how many ethics complaints we've had? I mean, I've only been on council for one, but I don't know in the last like decade. Half a dozen?
There were quite a handful before 2016, so I guess that's in the last decade.
Oh, yeah.
And then since then, Deb Ryan would be the last one that comes to mind that you've referenced.
Okay, so prior to 2016, lots of kerfuffling, right? But,
Yes.
you know, after that, just the one, right? And I guess I wanted to look at the code of ethics, you know, like our municipal code. And I think it's really important to hear the voices of our citizens. We've heard them here in the chamber today. But I also think, like, I mean, that's what's keeping, I don't know, citizens engaged. They're confident in the ethics and integrity of their officials. And that's actually what it says at the last of this policy, is it's hoping to improve the quality and integrity of public service and promote, strengthen, and nurture the faith and confidence of the citizens of this community and their public officials. And I think just having this process and hearing it out and letting it pass, it gives these people a voice. And I think that's important. I think everyone in our, you know, in our community needs that voice. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Alder Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one question for the attorney, city attorney. Of all the committees that the city has, each of them have legal advice to them. Is that correct?
The city attorney's office is to provide counsel and advice to any board, committee, or commission, or department director, alder, what have you. Our ordinances require legal representation of the ethics board in the filing of an ethics complaint. Those are two different things. We have to do this by ordinance.
Okay, because I guess, you know, as I was thinking earlier, you know, when you've got people on the ethics board that have no legal advice, no legal background, I want to say, I guess it's almost a necessity to have it. I mean, if you know, people are saying right or wrong, you still want the the results to come to the public. And when we, as a city council, get a complaint, you know, we represent the people. We don't work for City Hall. We don't work for department heads. If we don't follow up on it and do our protocol, we're not doing the jobs we were elected to do. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess with this ethics complaint, you know, if we don't provide the legal, if we don't provide them with, or vote to provide them with the legal advice, then we're not doing our jobs, in my humble opinion. And I guess for the public's sake, you know, if indeed, as the mayor's 8-page letter says, you know, I did no wrong, well then, let's see it, and vice versa. So, thank you.
Well, we will see it. You trust me there. But you bring up a good point, Mr. Larson, and I think it's kind of a logic fallacy that you have no choice. If you had no choice, it would not be on the agenda. So I think the false choice here is we must do this, or if we don't, what happens? And I think maybe we don't know because we haven't apparently contemplated what happens when we don't, when we say no. Is it just for the finances? Is it, do we allow them to meet and then petition the council? You know, that reminds me of a Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist phrase, the law is an ass. The law is an ass. It doesn't care what you think is common sense and what makes sense. So, you know, maybe we should contemplate maybe moving forward. Here we go. I'm fine with whichever.
I would like to call a point of order. I didn't really ask for your opinion. This is our council meeting. This is our council meeting.
Mr. Larson, I hear your point of order, and I overrule you. I'm responding to a statement you made. You were questioning that your statement was, we have to vote yes. You don't. But there are consequences either way.
I did not say that. We have to vote yes.
Okay, that was my understanding.
That did not come from my mouth. Please don't put words in my mouth.
Sure. City Attorney.
So to correct from my position, I may request it of the council. So the mayor is correct that that's why it is on the agenda. You do have the opportunity to vote yes or no. I may request it. However, I am required to remove myself from representation of the ethics board. So that's what I have to do. You don't have to do anything, but I am following the process and doing what I must do according to my rules of professional conduct, and that's remove myself. And because the ordinance requires my representation of the ethics board, I or the ethics board may request that representation. So they could come back to the council and not have their initial meeting and also make a request to you to provide them outside legal counsel. That's another option. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Hanke.
Thank you. I think a lot of my questions just got answered there, but I guess my main question was, if we vote no on this, the ethics board is still going to meet, correct? Mayor?
They'll still have the complaint. They'll have to decide that. And maybe Ann could expound on that, but I don't see how they would not meet.
Okay, thank you. And I guess then they would just be meeting without representation for that first meeting, and they could come back, I guess, and ask for representation. But I've been in enough committees and subcommittees now where I know how much trouble you can get into very easily without legal representation around, and I wouldn't want to be on that committee without representation around. So thank you.
Thank you. Alder Tierney.
Thank you. So I think I got a lot of my questions answered too, but just for clarification, if we would vote no, then the ethics committee would meet, and then they could come back to city council and ask for the legal representation, correct?
That's what the ordinance says.
Okay, so I guess in my mind, if they want the representation, then they should come and ask for it, because I'm not entirely in favor of just handing over a bunch of taxpayer money if they're not asking for it. So in my humble opinion, I believe that if they want it, come and ask for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for not applauding. We got 4 comments. We've got 4 people up yet, so let's get her going. Michael Martins.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, you are correct in stating that we do have a choice. We can vote yes and have the services of an attorney available for the Ethics Board, or we could vote no and see what happens. I'm of the opinion that we should have the services, the resources available for the board so that the Ethics Board is not wasting their time and is wasting our time. It's, time is money, and it's let them work through the issue and have the resources at their hand in order to properly work through the issue than to have them come to a meeting, gavel in, gavel out, because they can't do anything without the advice of counsel. So I support this measure for that. And then just to finally state, I received a lot of comments on this prior to the meeting, both emails, a few phone calls, and I think a lot of the comments were based upon miscommunication, not, the individuals not fully understanding, what's necessary here. And I get that. So I just wanted to say here tonight to everybody that I applaud you for your engagement with the city and the process that we go through every time we meet in either committee and council. That's good to see public engagement like this. We haven't had a full council chambers in quite some time, so that's very refreshing to see. But we also are a nation that lives by the rule of law, and we need to understand those rules, and we need to heed those rules. And tonight we are working through those rules. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Alder Watson.
Hi, so this will be my last time, thanks. So I know I asked you a question of how many in the past we've had, how many ethics reviews we've had or ethics commissions. And I know the last one, we needed to hire an outside counsel when it was for Alder Ryan, correct? Okay. The ones before 2016, were those also requiring outside counsel? Do you know? You can't remember.
Sorry, I would want to check the record to be accurate before I'd want to be quoted on that. I'm sure I would have followed the same process and sought outside counsel if I had a conflict.
And I guess because it's also stated that there's attorney present at each of our committee meetings, right? To be there, somebody's always there.
We do that just to be helpful, not that we're necessarily required to. It's just kind of become a practice of my office.
And so the benefits, though, of having an attorney present at meetings is to be able to, not get into sticky situations, right? Is be able to, make decisions in a clear way with guidance from a professional, right? Yeah, that wasn't a question, I guess.
Sometimes I get called up unexpectedly, yes,
Yeah.
at meetings, yes, exactly.
So, I think if majority of our committees and commissions, it seems like all of our committees and commissions have attendance of an attorney at them, and it seems like this would put our attorney in sort of a tricky situation. I don't know, has it ever been contemplated that we would change the ordinance to not make the attorney required? If it's not something that, is that something we can do eventually? So this wouldn't be an issue?
The council can move to amend ordinances, yes.
Okay.
You have the final say in amending ordinances, and the ethics code itself has been amended many times.
Okay.
And was actually in the process of being amended yet again when this complaint came in, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's possible.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
Alder Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question regarding the, if we decided not to approve this and left it up to the Ethics Board to request it, is there not a time limit or a time requirement? And I may be thinking of the wrong thing, but I was thinking that that could, like, if they had to request it, and by the time then, the time it would take for that to get back on our agenda, it could, is there a time, some time requirement that that could mess up, or no?
I don't know if you're thinking of the 3-day rule, that within 3 days of acceptance of a
No.
fully verified complaint by the clerk, she has to forward it to the ethics board members and the respondent. So it was in contemplation of that when we were a week out of trying to get the council agenda out that I moved forward because of that time limit to look for outside counsel to have that prepared.
Okay, no, I guess there's no other, okay, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. You know, I do think that as a matter of past practice and our standard practice, it really does put the Ethics Board and its chairperson in a difficult position if they do not have guidance or anyone to ask on questions of law. Oftentimes, because they are a citizen panel, and, you know, we've seen since 2016, there's not been a lot of these things. They've not been very active. They've not been through this process much. There are always questions about technical matters, about the interpretation of ordinances, about what their options might be. And so what we really do is if we wait for them to come asking, we really find ourselves in the same position in a few weeks with the exact same ask in front of us. So the idea that they would review this complaint, at that point, they have to make a decision. Are they going to choose to investigate it, or are they going to just dismiss it? We don't know what that outcome would be, but creating that delay just really prolongs a process which they may handle expeditiously. We don't know that. But I really think that it puts them at a disadvantage when they can't get that guidance. And, I mean, ultimately, we want them to do the job, and we want them to do it properly. I mean, that protects everyone involved if that work is being done in accordance with the proper legal process. So I really feel like we need to give them the tools to carry out whatever it is they need to do.
Thank you. Alder McElhaney.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank, I have received calls and emails, and I talked to everyone that I got a hold of, and I appreciated the conversations. I think there was some misunderstanding that this vote was voting for an investigation. I was somewhat involved as council president with the last ethics complaint, and I worked with the outside counsel. What the outside counsel is not there to do is to investigate a claim. That is completely of the board. They're there to, the council is there to answer questions about process. Municipal law is all about process. With that being said, I think personally, I think this process was flawed. I think that this has been such a big issue within our community for months. And with that, I think, I have said before in this chamber, I've said during the Keen Winters verified complaint as I was HR chair, process matters. And why process matters is it gives citizens the idea that it's transparent and it was done correctly, and they can then accept the outcome. And I think that's important. I think where we may have veered off, and this is again my personal opinion, was this was placed on by the city attorney asking for an outside counsel, and I'm not blaming the city attorney, but she is part, it's all twisted up because she's part of the complaint. She may be a witness. With that being said, as much as I would like the committee or the board to have counsel immediately. I feel it is a cleaner process to have them request an outside counsel if they need it. I think that's a cleaner process for the outside. I've talked to a lot of people over the last, I don't know, 3-4 days, more than I have before. And I will say everybody was very, they were open to listen. And I went through, I have sent out the municipal code more times in this last 5 days than I have about this is what I need to follow. I'm very clear that I want to follow the law, that I took an oath to follow our municipal laws. But again, I think that there is an out, and I think that a cleaner process to make everybody feel that it is a good process would be to allow it is up to the board if they want to meet. If they decide, I'm not meeting unless there's an outside counsel, they can come back. There is no, I could not find any time frame that is indicative that they would need to meet by. So we meet again in 2 weeks. If they decide we need outside counsel before they meet, let them, and that takes city staff out of it, and it takes us out of it. So that's my position. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Tierney.
And I agree with that. As far as giving them the counsel so that hopefully it would be done expeditiously, I think we're past that point already because this has been going on since November, this whole subject. So I think this might give them time to reflect a little bit on what they are asking, what's all going on here. And I think instead of just giving it to them without their asking and being, I strongly feel that this is something that if they feel they need, they should be asking for themselves. So I will not be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I thought we were done there. One more. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank
Could I
you.
call
This
a
is a
point of order?
Well, this is a question.
Said your point of order?
My point of order is the people that are up to speak, if we are following Robert's rules, they've already had their 2 times speaking.
I would defer to the parliamentarian.
That's correct. Each alder gets 2 times to speak, up to 10 minutes each time, with the exclusion of asking questions. So I haven't been keeping track of that, but if you all feel that somebody's speaking more than twice, the council can decide whether or not to allow a person to speak a 3rd time.
So mine is a question.
Without objection, if you have a question, go ahead.
I do. So there are times where, as a council, knowing that our action will then require some subsequent action, there are times that we will give an approval in advance for staff to work through a situation. So, we often will approve staff to proceed forward when the need arises. Is it possible that as a body, we could grant that approval to the city attorney to secure that counsel if and when it becomes necessary? And then is it possible for her to hold off on the physical engagement of that attorney until she's had time to confer with the chair of the ethics board? I mean, where do we go with that? I guess I'm just trying to save us a couple of different meeting steps here.
Well,
if we vote it down now and we're back in 4 weeks, it's fine, but, do we have the option then to give that conditional approval? If it's not necessary, she doesn't hire it. If they don't want it, she doesn't do it. But where does that put us, I guess, Ann?
I don't know that I want to wade too much further into providing advice or speculating on what's going to happen in the future. I think that advice should be coming from the council to the ethics board.
So from the attorney you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay, so.
To guide them on the process and
Right.
what their options are and what they should do. I'm not going to do that on the record.
Okay.
So the suggestion, similar to I think what Alder McElhaney was getting at, is the process. If you think about it, what are the odds that the next complaint is going to be, or the likeliest complaints are going to be against an elected official? potentially one of you. And now we're in a similar spot that by representing you, she is now conflicted. Now we're in this loop again. We had the similar loop with Deb Ryan. So maybe it is time to take a look at that and find something a little more automatic. Maybe there's some opportunity for arbitration where we can, but I don't think it's our duty at this point to try to create a rule on the fly. But if we want to look at that, I think it's worthwhile looking at for the future. Alder Watson.
I just had an additional question to no statement. How did the Deb Ryan outside counsel happen?
She hired her own private counsel, and then at the end, the ethics board found that they did not like her conduct, but that they did not find she violated the code, and therefore, under the cost section of our ordinances, the city was required to pay her private legal fees associated with that proceeding.
Yeah, sorry, I meant in the front end, like for hiring the outside counsel to counsel the ethics commission. Did you request it, or did the council, like the ethics commission?
Actually, I called our insurer. I'd have to go back. I think, yes, we did do a resolution. I did do an identical resolution to the one you have tonight.
And we did it prior to them asking for it.
Yes,
too. So,
and I called Civmic, and they recommended Ted Wiskowski.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that's how we got him. But yeah, we did exactly the same process, followed this same resolution. We drafted this one off that one and got them for and he was there with them at their initial meeting.
Alder Neal, are you willing to cap us off here?
Yeah, this is my second and last, I'm sure. I guess, given what Alder Rasmussen mentioned, I was pretty much going to say pretty much the same thing. What I'm looking at is being expedient, sort of pre-authorizing that, council expenditure should the board end up wanting to utilize it. Of course, President would tell me that they will want to use it, and it's kind of a foregone conclusion logically. So to think otherwise is kind of like not really being realistic in terms of what precedent is. But rather than us coming back 2 weeks from now and hashing this all out again, and I would just say all this amounts to is us pre-authorizing, the hiring of outside counsel should the board president decide that's what they want to do. If they don't, then they don't. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Neal. And Carol Lucan's going to bring us up on the end here.
Thank you. So I guess what I'm wondering is then, would that be an amendment to this if we wanted to do that, or would we vote on this motion? And I guess that's what I'm wondering. I've heard now a couple of people bring it up, so.
Well, I could voice it as an amendment if that's what somebody feels we need. I don't think we do. Again, because it's always the discretion of the board how they want to engage with outside counsel, or if they want to.
I get.
Alder gets something.
Right, but at least they have the opportunity with legal counsel to have that opportunity at that time. I support this motion. I feel that the city council should be giving the ethics committee, that's our job as a government, to provide expert advice to the ethics board. And the city attorney is simply asking us to enable that hiring of that attorney or that legal counsel. I think that is our obligation to do that, and I support that. And with regards to Mr. Dickens' quote, you have the Constitution in front of you, that is the supreme law of the land, and I think that Mr. Dickens may not have been familiar with the United States Constitution, but that is including the 14th Amendment, which includes due process of law, and I think that's what we're here tonight, to provide for that due process of law, so that we, starting with the Ethics Board, having them have that process that they can proceed with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gisselman. Just to be clear, I am comfortable with my case in whichever way this goes. So please vote your conscience here. But I think after having this discussion, I do think we need to come back, look at this ordinance and find a way to get smoothly through this. So when this happens again, and it very likely could, that we're not sitting here. Well, it's nice to have a full crowd here, but it should be more automatic so that we have some steps in place. We have the due process, and it works. And the quote from Dickens certainly was not a literal interpretation, but it does. I think it rings true that sometimes the things don't make sense. Let's try to make sense of them if we can moving forward. I'm a few credits shy of a law degree, so I'm just winging it here. All right, seeing nothing further.
You may begin voting. Motion passes 8-2.
All right, thank you. All right. Thank you for your attendance. Up next is file number 250114. It's a finance resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $922,476 in sewer system revenue bonds, Series 2025, and providing for other details and covenants with respect thereto. This is pending, and I apologize, I missed the vote.
5-0.
It was 5-0 at finance.
We do have Quarles and Brady on.
Oh, we have Quarles and Brady hanging on. Wow. We should have run them up to the front. All right. We have a motion from Henke, second from Tierney. Comments? Mary Ann, did you want to tee something up? Do we want Quarles? All right, seeing none.
You may begin voting. Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you. All right, we have a closed session coming up, so this is your.
Do the
Oh.
public comment.
One more.
Okay. Suggestion from the clerk is to do public comment because we will not be reconvening into open session to take action, because, or will we? Is there an option for that? We're going to take public comment just in case we don't come back out. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Anyone remaining here wishing to speak?
Can I ask a question?
I don't know if you can ask a question, but you can make a statement.
You can ask the question, but we can't answer.
There you go. You please step up to the,
Deb Hadley.
please state your name and.
Deb Hadley, 3603 Hidden Links Drive.
Thank you.
I'd like to know the members of the Ethics Board. This was appointed by the last mayor, I'm assuming.
They have staggered
Is that open
terms.
records request, or how do I know?
It's posted on our website.
You say they're citizens, I'd like to know. I don't know anyone that's on that board, so
Okay.
I'd like to know who is on that board.
They do have staggered terms. Let me double check.
Well, there must be 5 members, and someone must know that, right? So I'm curious how I
I'm
would
pulling
find
it
that,
up here.
seek that information out. Any thoughts on that? Or nobody can talk to me?
1 second, we're looking up the names of the members. You don't know them off the top of our head.
The clerk should answer that.
Yeah.
Body there.
And they were appointed.
Yep, so the members of the Ethics Board that are posted on our website is Brian Mason, Kay Palmer, Robin DeVos, Doug Hostler, Calvin Dexter, with Jesse Kearns as an alternate. And they have staggered terms, which I could look up and provide for you.
Okay, and were they all appointed under the last mayor?
They have staggered terms. I'm not sure. I believe they are. Does it say they have 5-year terms? So no. Can you see
Yeah,
when their terms expire?
Let's see. DeVos and Hostler expire April 30th of '25. Dexter, April 30th, '26. Brian Mason, April 30th, '26. Kate Palmer,
April 30th, 27, and Jesse Kearns, April 30th, 29.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Maybe that was the reference to the two attorneys. There's two attorneys on that list. Okay, so there are two attorneys on the board, apparently. Okay, I'm sorry, further comment? Come on up, state your name, please.
Paula Meadows, 1302 Madison Street in Wausau. I have a question mostly also about this ethics complaint, that it originates back to September 22nd. That's 115 days ago. The process of taking almost 4 months, that floors me, that this wasn't done. And all I see is that this is just a way to have the mayor spend more money. It's going to cost him more money for his attorney. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of us investigating this whole ethics committee and how this all works. I understand there's a process to having it done, 2 days, 3 days, and then somebody decides the complaint is valid. So I just find this unusual, and it's sad the way that you voted. I actually emailed, I believe, all of you, and of course, nobody responded back to me, even my own alderperson. So I had to personally call him. That's okay. But, yeah, we talked when I called you back, because I didn't have a decent number, and I tried to reach you numerous ways today, and that's okay if that's the way the city wants to work it. It's very disheartening. I am not up here very often. This is only my second time, but you might see me up here more in the future. I am glad we get this process to do this. I am sorry that there has been misunderstanding, but the transparency among this, alder people, some of you, you need to work better at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the record, we're not endorsing investigating any board members. Thank you.
One more, please.
Yes, sir.
Paul Henning, 1906 East Hamilton Street. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, but I'd like to, it seems inappropriate that if Attorney Jacobson is not able to advise the board, it doesn't seem very appropriate that somebody who can't advise the board because she's a potential witness is also appointing the attorney that is going to be appointing it. It seems like a pretty clear conflict of interest to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One more. Yes, sir.
My name's Ken Becker, 1703 Patriot Drive in Wausau. I'd like to thank Alder Lukens and Mayor for responding to my comments about the affordable housing. They were the only ones out of everybody who was on the committee who bothered to respond. I'd also like to, well, the question I have is about the attorney at $250 an hour from Waukesha. That's $1,500 every round trip. Now, we talked about not wasting our money, our valuable money. Don't you think we could probably find an attorney in Mosinee, maybe? The other thing is I would like to thank the city attorney. I would like you to thank the city attorney and the president for increasing the police presence in our neighborhood since they filed complaints about me being dangerous because I asked them to do their job. So they complained to the police, and at least we have increased security in our neighborhood. Thank you both.
Thank you. All right. Going once, going twice. All right. See a smiling face here. Taker? No. All right. We have a closed session and we have one member, Alder Henke.
Yeah, I'm just going to recuse myself because of work and everything, so.
Okay, so we have one recusal. We'll have,
No, I clicked the wrong button.
okay, we'll have 11, I'm sorry, we'll have 9 voting to go into closed session. Could I get a designated
I'll read
reader
it.
for this? Mr. Martins,
All
please.
right, I'm so good at it. I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to 19.85, Section 1, Paragraph G of the Wisconsin statutes for conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved relating to legal actions regarding PFAS contamination and associated claims.
Thank you. We have a motion. Would entertain a second. Okay, how do we count that? Motion from Larson, second from Lukens. And this will be a roll call vote.
Lukens.
Aye.
Martins.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Gisselman.
Aye.
McElhaney. Rasmussen.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Tierney.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Motion passes 9-0.
And as a note to the public, if you're sticking around, we will likely not be back here to do any business at all. So we'll adjourn from closed session tonight.